Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a hard look at something we've all been told is practically an untouchable pillar of success. We are going to analytically dismantle the deeply held illusion that a college degree is a guaranteed golden ticket to financial security in the United States. We're going to dig into the raw data, look at the economic systems, and unpack the underlying psychology to see exactly why this credential is mathematically and systematically losing its value. You know the line, just get a college degree and you're set for life. We all grew up hearing this, right? Whether it came from your parents, your high school guidance counselor, or just society in general, it was never really presented as an option. It was treated as the absolute truth of the American dream. The story was so simple. Work hard, get into a good school, get that piece of paper, and boom, a comfortable middle-class life just magically unlocks for you. It was the ultimate safety net. And for years, the absolute cornerstone of that narrative was this massive number, the legendary $1 million degree premium. I mean, we've all heard the stat that college grads automatically earn $1 million more over their lifetime compared to someone with just a high school diploma. But here's the really fascinating truth about that. The number is basically a statistical myth, masking a huge glitch in our economy. It leans on outdated averages, completely ignores the crushing modern debt students take on, and most importantly, it confuses correlation with causation. It assumes the paper itself magically created the wealth, rather than, the actual person holding it. So let's dive right into part one, the $1 million myth. If we want to understand why this credential is mathematically devaluing in real time, we really just need to look at the hard numbers. And the story here is incredibly stark. On one side, college tuition is absolutely skyrocketing. It has outpaced standard inflation by leaps and bounds over the last few decades. But on the other side, real wages for recent grads are totally stagnant. The cost to actually get these credentials has exponentially outpaced the entry-level paychecks those graduates are bringing home. You're essentially paying a massive 2024 premium for a credential that yields 1990s purchasing power. Mathematically speaking, the return on investment is just collapsing. And naturally, this creates a really intense psychological trap. Today, students and parents aren't necessarily buying an education anymore. They're paying a ransom, driven entirely by FOMO, the fear of missing out. The thought process isn't, hey, I'm paying to learn these specific skills. It's more like, if I don't pay this absolutely exorbitant tuition, I'm going to be locked out of the middle class forever. People are taking on crushing, non-dischargeable debt just to feel a baseline level of economic security. Which brings us to part two, the degree inflation system. To really grasp why degrees are losing their shine, we have to look at corporate America's vicious cycle of credential inflation. It goes like this. Step one, society pushes literally everyone to get a degree, so the market gets completely flooded with grads. Step two, HR departments get overwhelmed by hundreds of applications for a single job, so they artificially raise the barrier to entry as a lazy filter. They just slap a bachelor's degree required label on the job to quickly cut the stack of resumes in half. And then step three, because everyone now has the degree and employers demand it for the most basic roles, the credential completely loses its distinct premium value. And that leads to the absolute absurdity of the modern job hunt. We've all seen this classic paradox while scrolling through job postings, right? Entry-level role requires a bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience on software that was literally invented 2 years ago. It's hilarious, but it perfectly highlights a massive systemic failure. Employers honestly don't know what they're looking for, so they just stack impossible requirements and expensive credentials onto entry-level salaries, crossing their fingers that the perfect candidate just magically appears. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world, because it's pretty wild. Back in the 1990s, an administrative assistant was a role that reliably required just a high school diploma. You learned the specific filing systems and the software right there on the job. Today, that exact same role, doing the exact same tasks, routinely requires a 4-year bachelor's degree just to score an interview. The job didn't miraculously become 4 years more complex, the filter just became 4 years more expensive. So why does this happen? That's part three, the signaling paradox. This brings us to a fascinating, kind of mind-bending concept in economics called signaling theory. Basically, it suggests that a wildly expensive university education isn't actually about the specific skills or knowledge you pick up in a lecture hall. Instead, the degree acts as a signal. It signals to employers that you have the sheer endurance to survive a 4-year institutional marathon. It proves you can wake up to an alarm, meet arbitrary deadlines, put up with bureaucracy, and jump through incredibly expensive hoops without quitting. The real takeaway here is the massive disconnect between what we think university provides and what corporate America is actually buying. If you've ever sat at a new job and felt like your degree didn't prepare you for any of your actual daily tasks, well, you're definitely not alone. Students think their degree proves they're highly skilled experts. But to an employer staring at a mountain of applications, it usually just signals compliance, a certain level of socioeconomic privilege, and a baseline level of endurance. And because of that, there is a staggering gap in the US market right now. The difference between jobs that strictly demand a bachelor's degree and the much smaller slice of jobs that actually require degree-level skills to do the work is just massive. We have millions of young professionals sitting at desks right now, carrying 40 grand in student loan debt, doing tasks they could have easily mastered with a few weeks of direct on-the-job training. The inefficiency of the whole thing is just incredible. But there's good news. Let's look at part 4. The broken American filter.
Fortunately, we are seeing a massive shift happen right now. Driven purely by the need for efficiency and real talent, the corporate landscape in America is finally waking up to the fact that this legacy system is completely broken. We're talking about heavy hitters, titans like Apple, Google, IBM, Bank of America, and Tesla. They're actively and formally dropping their strict 4-year degree requirements for a ton of their roles. And trust me, they aren't doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because their own data proved the degree filter was actively blocking them from hiring highly capable, hungry, and innovative people.
We are in the middle of a huge systemic economic shift away from paper credentials. The old filter leaned almost entirely on university degrees, basically trusting a university's brand name to guarantee a solid employee. But the new filter, it is all about skills-based hiring. Employers are looking at portfolios, completed projects, coding boot camps, and direct technical assessments. They really don't care where you sat for 4 years anymore. They care about what you can actually build, solve, or manage today.
So the big picture takeaway here is that the free market system is correcting itself in real time. Employers have done the math. They're realizing that relying on a depreciating, artificially inflated credential as a lazy shortcut to find talent is just terrible for business. It drives up their hiring costs, it shrinks their talent pools, and it completely fails to guarantee someone will actually be good at the job. The credential illusion has peaked, folks, and the deflation has officially begun.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. If the traditional 4-year degree is no longer the ultimate, undisputed proof of your competence and potential, how are we going to measure human capital tomorrow? How will you prove your worth in a world that suddenly values your actual output more than your institutional pedigree? It's a fascinating paradigm shift, and it's one that is going to redefine the American workforce for generations to come. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.